Molly, a dedicated public servant in a quaint small town, found herself entwined in a peculiar marital situation. 8 years ago, she tied the knot with Michael, her fellow public servant. However, their careers demanded constant relocation, forcing them to lead separate lives despite being husband and wife. The absence of children only accentuated their solitary existence. Night after night, at 9 p.m. sharp, Molly would receive a familiar message on WhatsApp from her husband. "Damn, I have a meeting tonight as well," it would read, followed by a brief exchange about their uncertain reunion. This routine, albeit predictable, was the closest semblance of communication they shared throughout their marriage. To outsiders, their arrangement might have seemed like a marriage of convenience, a notion exacerbated by their profession as federal civil servants, often deployed to different military bases every few years. Yet, within their circle, such separations were the norm rather than the exception. 2 years ago, during one of their fleeting WhatsApp conversations, the topic of purchasing an apartment in Molly's hometown of Jackson, Mississippi arose. Hopeful yet resigned, they entertained the notion of cohabitation should fate allow. Their dialogue, though terse, hinted at underlying sentiments of longing and uncertainty. When Molly finally acquired an apartment in Jackson, she did so with a dual purpose: to be closer to her roots and to potentially share a life with Michael should their paths align. The prospect of finally living together after years of separation flickered like a distant beacon of hope. Then, one day, amidst the usual silence of WhatsApp notifications, Michael's voice broke through the monotony with an unexpected phone call. The deviation from their routine caught Molly off guard, prompting a brief exchange about his parents' upcoming visit. Despite the shift in communication medium, the warmth Molly had yearned for remained elusive in Michael's distant demeanor. As Molly hung up the phone, she couldn't help but wonder, when was the last time they truly felt like a couple? "Since our wedding, it feels like an eternity since I last saw my in-laws." With Michael's nomadic career taking him all over the country and his parents settled in Eugene, Oregon, opportunities for reunions are rare. But now, with their impending visit to my hometown of Jackson, Mississippi, I'm determined to make it memorable. I eagerly offered to be their guide, eager to showcase the charm of Jackson. As we exchanged pleasantries upon their arrival, I couldn't shake the feeling of the vast distance between our lives. "Molly, long time no see. How have you been?" my mother-in-law greeted me warmly. "I'm doing well, thank you," I replied, masking the ache of separation. "Michael has been living alone for a long time. Sorry for not being able to meet up," she continued, acknowledging the chasm between us. "Don't worry, we're kind of like heir to each other." "Yes, that's what we were to each other, Michael and I, for better or worse," I confessed, a bittersweet smile playing on my lips. Seizing the opportunity, I proposed a day out, suggesting we explore the Windsor ruins, a local marvel. As we marveled at the majestic remnants, my father-in-law drew parallels to their beloved Shelton Murphy Johnson house in Eugene, reminiscing fondly about their hometown. Despite the allure of the ruins, I sensed a yearning for familiarity in their eyes. And so, our adventure continued, with visits to the petrified forests and other local gems. My mother-in-law, captivated by the city's charm, began entertaining the idea of a longer stay. "I've fallen in love with Mississippi, thank you, Molly. Would it be all right if I stayed here for a while?" she asked, her sincerity touching. "Of course. I'm usually not home during the day, so I'll give you a spare key," I offered, touched by her newfound affection for my city. Days turned into a week, and still, my in-laws showed no signs of departure. Faced with their reluctance to leave, I mustered the courage to make a proposition. "Well, if you like it that much, I can lease it to you for $600 a month," I proposed, hoping to bridge the gap between our lives even further. "I can just stay at my folks' house in the city in the meantime," I suggested, hoping to ease the tension. Upon hearing my proposal, my father-in-law's anger erupted like a sudden storm. "What on earth are you thinking, asking family for money to lease? You should let us use it for free," he exclaimed, his frustration palpable. Struggling to defuse the situation, my mother-in-law intervened, her soothing words offering a temporary reprieve. But beneath the surface, unease lingered. Seeking a compromise, I suggested, "How about this? You can just cover the costs of utilities you use, electricity, water, and gas." In the second week of their stay, amidst the routine of work, an unexpected call disrupted my day. "Hello?" I answered, puzzled by the untimely interruption. This is Brian, the Front Hills property manager. We received a call from the folks downstairs reporting a water leak from your apartment. The voice on the other end explained urgently. Can you come over right away? We can't go in without your permission. Balancing my responsibilities at work with the urgency of the situation, I finally seized the opportunity during my lunch break to investigate the matter. Upon arriving at the apartment with the property manager, I was met with surprise from my mother-in-law. "Oh, Molly, what brings you here at this time? What about work?" she inquired, her concern evident. Ignoring her question, I focused on addressing the reported issue. "Ma'am, the folks downstairs are saying there might be a water leak from our place," I explained to the property manager, determined to resolve the situation. Upon inspection, my suspicions were confirmed. The hose of the washing machine had come loose, causing a repetitive cycle of draining. This is the problem," I declared, relieved to have identified the source of the disturbance. Descending with the property manager, we ascended to our apartment to inspect the reported leak. As we entered, my heart sank at the sight of the spreading stain on the ceiling, directly beneath the washing machine. An involuntary sigh escaped me, betraying my frustration. My mother-in-law, curious, peered into the room before retreating with a guilty expression. Knowing the responsibility fell on my shoulders, I begrudgingly apologized to the neighbors with a peace offering of cookies, accompanied by a bill from the property management for the necessary repairs. Upon relaying the incident to my mother-in-law, her reaction caught me off guard. "So you're telling us to pack up and leave, is that it? We're not going anywhere that easily. Should we just up and go, huh?" she retorted, her tone sharp with indignation. The complaints continued unabated. Another call from the property manager revealed a new issue. My father-in-law's nightly balcony serenades were causing a disturbance. Suppressing a groan, I resolved to address the matter head-on. Returning to the apartment, I was met with an empty space. A note on the table announced their departure back to Seattle, leaving behind unpaid utilities and a heap of garbage. Frustration boiled within me. Their departure was abrupt, leaving behind a mess and unpaid bills. With my in-laws gone, I reclaimed the apartment from my parents' house. But just as I settled back into my routine, an unexpected call from my husband rattled me to the core. "My dad and mom love your apartment, so I'm giving it to them as a gift," he declared, his tone final. "Understand, or we're getting a divorce." Stunned by his ultimatum, I could only grasp the weight of his words as he hung up, leaving me to contemplate the repercussions of his decision. As I left my apartment, the echo of my mother-in-law's laughter lingered in the air. Unbeknownst to me, my in-laws had relocated to my husband's government quarters, initiating a subtle yet coercive tactic. Instead of addressing me directly, they manipulated my husband into pressuring me to relinquish the apartment. How had it come to this? Now, I found myself at a crossroads. Surrender the apartment I had fought so hard for, or face the prospect of divorce. It was a binary choice, one that weighed heavily on my mind as I deliberated the options. Groaning with the weight of my decision, I finally reached a resolution. 2 days later, instead of the usual WhatsApp message, my husband's call brought an ominous tone. "You'll pay for this," he threatened, incensed by my decision to send divorce papers via express mail. His anger caught me off guard, but I stood firm in my resolve. Yet the repercussions of my actions unfolded swiftly. Summoned by my boss, I received a transfer order to Dallas, orchestrated by my ex-husband who managed personnel. Frustration bubbled within me, but amidst the chaos, one question persisted. What about my apartment? Should I succumb to pressure and rent it to my ex's parents? Seeking clarity, I sought counsel from the legal affairs department at work. Their verdict was clear. With no ties to my ex-husband, I had no obligation to accommodate his parents either. The solution was simple: rent out the apartment as a landlord. Empowered by this revelation, I contacted my in-laws who had returned to Portland and proposed renting out the apartment upon my transfer. To my surprise, they readily agreed, their interest in the apartment outweighing any notion of harassment. In this unexpected turn of events, I found solace in reclaiming control over my life and property. I proposed a monthly rent of $700, inclusive of utility bills and repair costs from their last stay. Surprisingly, my in-laws accepted the condition without complaint. As I juggled my duties in Dallas, I also dedicated myself to studying for the internal selection examination, a pivotal step towards advancing to the highest echelons among senior military officers. The ultimate goal was to qualify for the Command Staff Course, a rigorous training program for unit commanders. My desire to surpass my ex-husband in rank and position fueled my determination. Against all odds, I triumphed over this formidable obstacle, securing admission to the Command Staff Course in one attempt. With a triumphant spirit, I declared to myself, "Watch this, Michael. The real revenge starts now." As I embarked on my journey, I purposely refrained from contacting my ex-husband, relishing in the anticipation of his reaction. 16 months later, I ascended to the position of unit commander in Nebraska, overseeing soldier education and training. Concurrently, fate saw fit to bring my ex-husband to the same state, albeit in a different capacity, assigned to the Regional Cooperation Headquarters, acting as a liaison between the military and local communities. Thanks to my success in the internal selection exam, my rank now surpassed that of my ex-husband's. The revelation of my elevated status caught him off guard during a training session for senior officers. "Why are you wearing a higher rank insignia than mine?" he demanded, his voice betraying a mix of surprise and indignation. His outburst drew the attention of those around us, leaving them puzzled by the sudden tension between us. As I observed my ex-husband's arrival, a wave of emotions surged within me, but I chose to maintain a composed exterior. Deep down, I harbored a sense of relief, realizing that I was no longer entangled with someone of such low character. It was a splendid Sunday, bathed in sunshine, marking the annual Base Open Day. This event offered a rare opportunity for civilians to engage with servicemen and experience a glimpse of military life. As crowds marveled at the displayed tanks and immersed themselves in simulated combat training, excitement filled the air. Soldiers descended from helicopters, executing maneuvers with precision akin to Spider-Man, leaving onlookers in awe. From photos with soldiers to souvenir merchandise, attendees reveled in the festivities. Amidst it all, I, as a training coordinator, manned a booth offering civilians a chance to experience the forward-leaning rest position alongside active servicemen. In the midst of this bustling atmosphere, my ex-husband made an unexpected appearance, accompanied by members of the Parents Association. The sight reignited the suppressed emotions I held towards him and his family, stoking the flames of revenge within me. In that moment, amidst the vibrant festivities, I saw an opportunity for ultimate retribution. I couldn't let this opportunity slip by. "How about it, Mr. Over there? Mom and Dad, would you like to join us too?" Before I knew it, I found myself calling them over, reluctantly ushering my ex-husband and former in-laws to our booth. With a determined yet subtle forcefulness, I fitted my ex-husband with an iron helmet and positioned him amongst the other servicemen. "All right, in the military, we assign everyone a number," I explained, suppressing a smirk. "When I say start numbering, the person on the right will say 1, then the next person 2, and so on." I orchestrated the lineup, strategically placing my ex-husband at the far right in the coveted number 1 position, surrounded by a mix of servicemen and civilians. "Numbering start," I commanded, relishing the control. As the exercise commenced, my ex-husband's prompt response and rigid stance almost broke my composure. Suppressing the urge to laugh, I reveled in the unexpected amusement of the situation. Following the lineup, the instructor, a seasoned serviceman, delivered a concise lecture on the forward-leaning rest position. Participants, including my ex-husband, diligently followed suit, repeating the moves until they were proficient to a certain extent. From that moment onward, I assumed command. "We're going to conduct combat training," I announced, addressing both soldiers and civilians alike. "Soldiers, be mindful of your muzzle direction. Civilians without guns, please simulate." With a firm directive, I rallied the 9 participants. "Target the tree ahead, forward." We're maintaining a low profile, advancing by running, using the tree for cover, I instructed, orchestrating the exercise. "Keep your weapons pointed towards the enemy direction, and let a portion of the team move forward in a bounding overwatch." Number 1. Bounding overwatch, move forward, I commanded, pushing my ex-husband to his limits. With each directive, my ex-husband, an active duty soldier, obediently followed, crawling along the ground with his rifle. Amidst the spectacle, laughter erupted from the crowd, unaware of our personal dynamics. To them, it was merely an amusing display of a female commander directing a male soldier. However, my ex-husband's parents wore grimaces, perhaps realizing the reversal of power dynamics. In the hierarchical world of the military, my ex-husband had always asserted dominance, both at work and in private. Yet fueled by frustration, I undertook and aced the selection exam, turning the tables. Refreshed by the experience of asserting my authority, particularly in front of my ex-in-laws who had once looked down on me, I reveled in my newfound confidence. Days later, my ex-in-laws expressed a desire to move out, freeing me to commute from my own apartment, a symbolic victory. Ironically, encounters with my ex-husband continued, but each time his grimace brought me secret pleasure, a silent reminder of my newfound empowerment.